Hey, what's going on, y'all? Hey, I'm not a big, huge fan of this franchise. Whenever I go to the States, I might go there once or twice, but I can't just say I'm like a huge fan of it. However, this franchise that I'm talking about, I believe it needs to come to Canada. Tim Hortons is the biggest franchise in Canada, and I think they've taken advantage of Canadians. They the quality's gone down. They're not hiring young Canadians or senior Canadians or whatever. They're not putting Canadians first, but yet they continue to dominate the country. They have a monopoly. But I believe right now this franchise that's in the U.S. needs to come to Canada and shake up Tim Hortons, get them to increase their quality, and give them a run for its money. And the franchise that I'm talking about is Dunkin' Donuts. No, I had to look it up. I had to look it up because I didn't realize that Dunkin' Donuts was already in Canada. They were in Canada, I should say. But now it's time for them to come back. But let's dive in. Let's go through a little history here. Dunkin' Donuts actually they were in Canada. They came in 1961. They opened their first Canadian location in Montreal. It quickly became they became one of the first international markets outside of the US. So they were here well before some of these other franchises like McDonald's, Subway, Burger King, all these like I won't say McDonald's, but all the ones we see now. Dunkin' Donuts was here. And they expanded quickly across Ontario, Quebec, and Atlantic Canada. And during the 90s they were around. They had over 200 locations in Quebec alone. So I guess they were big in Quebec. I've never been to Quebec, so that's probably why I didn't really know that Dunkin' Donuts was in Canada. But they had a big decline. In 1995, they had 210 locations, and 2010 they were down to 50. That's a 75% drop, more than 75% drop. And then by 2018, they only had 3 locations left and they were owning Quebec. They went from hundreds to just 3 stores. Now the question is why? Well, they left September 2018 was the last Tim Hortons that closed down. Yeah, they were here for 57 years. Wow. So why did they leave? Simple. A franchise named Tim Hortons. They expanded. They got obviously they saw what Duncan was doing and they came out and they came large and they dominated because for one it was Canadian and Canadians love to support Canadian, and they by 2018 Tim Hortons had over 4,000 locations. So obviously they wiped out Dunkin' Donuts. Understandably so, because Tim Hortons is a Canadian franchise, was a Canadian franchise. Dunkin' Donuts was a US franchise. They knocked them out because you support your own. So that's why Dunkin' Donuts is no longer in Canada. And needless to say, come to find out, Canadian franchise owners they sued Dunkin'. They claimed the company failed to promote the brand in Canada, and the franchisees actually won $16.4 million in court. So Dunkin' Donuts wasn't committed to Canada. They didn't really try to enhance their product here, especially when Tim Hortons was just taking over, and Tim Hortons took full advantage of that. But now that since then, obviously Tim Hortons is dominated. We've seen uh, look, Starbucks. They have a following, but it's not a huge following. You got a niche following. Coffee Time couldn't compete with Tim Hortons. Country Style Donuts can't compete with Tim Hortons. And there's some other places. There was a place called Robin's Donuts a while back. They couldn't compete. And what did Tim Hortons do? They expanded, but they sold themselves to a Brazilian company, and that's when you just seen the quality just drop. And I don't need to get into it even more. Watch previous Tim Hortons videos that I've done, and but now I'm just saying now, Dunkin' Donuts needs to make a comeback. Whoever owns the franchise needs to take a good look at Canada at what Tim Hortons is doing. Because obviously Tim Hortons is now in the US and they're trying to expand in the US, and Tim Hortons is getting themselves known out there. But Dunkin' Donuts needs to come back to Canada. Like I said, I'm not a huge fan of them, but I don't have any problems with them either. They need to come back, open a franchise, start back, go back to the main cities, Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver. Shoot, do Windsor too because it's a border city. Open up franchises, put them right next to Tim Hortons, and just go at it. Go at it. Come with a plan to everything that Tim Hortons is doing wrong. Dunkin' Donuts needs to come and just do it better. Quality sucks in Tim Hortons, do it better in Dunkin'. Tim Hortons wants to hire only temporary foreign workers. Dunkin' Donuts needs to hire young people, seniors, anybody who pretty much needs a job, and mix it up. Mix up the staff. Come here and just do everything that Tim Hortons is not doing. And Tim Hortons is either going to respond by improving their quality, improving their brand, or they're just going to dwindle and have to settle with competing with Dunkin', and Dunkin' and Tim Hortons can continue to battle it out in terms of who is the better coffee shop, who is the better donuts, who serves the best donuts, who serves the best coffee, who has the best staff. Battle it out. I mean, shoot, Coke and Pepsi been battling it out. It's rivalry is good. You know, McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, they battle it out. And dominance and Tim Hortons is similar to the current Canadian government. They just want to dominate everything, right? They just want to take over and just control everything. Tim Hortons is doing that right now. But I don't know. This is what I feel. I believe that Dunkin' Donuts needs to wipe themselves clean of whatever happened in Canada in the past and make a comeback, make their way back. Shoot, Olive Garden is coming back to Canada, and they were gone for years. So I believe Dunkin' should do the same thing. But I want to know what you guys think. Should Dunkin' Donuts make an attempt to come back to Canada and compete against Tim Hortons? Let me know your thoughts. Like, share, and subscribe to Born with Purpose. And until the next video, I'm out. God bless. Peace.